going to talk about supercharged Diablos.
Let's go.
Currently, the Diablo Roadster that is twin supercharged was on Bring a Trailer, is on a Bring a Trailer now. I made an offer. Owner didn't accept it. He sold it to somebody else. Mm-hmm. But I tried that bad boy. The torque, the power, it's freaking unreal. See, it spins the tires. Talk about shutting the club down.
Yeah, it's lightning. It's ballistic when it engages, right? And it's
torque.
like from low RPM, it makes it a different car.
Different car, because that's the thing about a Diablo and a Mercy is, you gas it and it's still, it's a V12, so you're going to have to work right away. But this was like all of it right away. And then you have the upper.
Yeah, it completes it completes the personality for just complete madness from beginning to end.
I'm just telling you, like a Ferrari 488 or whatever, that I've driven a lot, or a Huracan. This doesn't touch the thrill of this car. I'm just saying, like, that is so boring.
Yes.
Compared to what is going on right now. Like, when people talk about engagement? No, it's engagement. This is all massive engagement, my friend. I don't want to drive this anymore because it's starting to mess me up.
Yeah.
I swear to God. Fortunately, the steering is unlike the raw Diablos, it's so smooth and easy.
The whole car is easy.
The whole car is easy. I bet you the AC works. I feel the vent. I didn't turn on the AC.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm reaching.
It might work.
Yeah. What am I thinking? Now, tell me more about this car. Like you've known about this car. You've been working on this car for at least 10 years, so you know it intimately. Can the Diablo engine handle that kind of pressure?
I mean, it's the boost isn't crazy. I believe it's 7.5 pounds, somewhere around that realm.
Which is, for someone that's a layman to turbos and forced induction, is that mild?
It's pretty mild. It's not. I mean, like a typical turbo will be from 12 to 19 to over 20 psi if you got a race car or whatever your kind of madness.
7's mild.
As mild as you could get. It's what would be considered. It's what's considered good for a normal engine. Most regular engines can handle about 7 psi of boost and be okay and not explode.
When you say without changing the internals?
Yes, without lowering your compression, without having to change connecting rods. I mean, I've just seen Diablo engines over the years handle superchargers pretty well. It's
stock engines, like stock rods, engines. Stock pistons.
Yeah. I mean, turbos, no.
Right.
That's when things start getting a little wonky.
You better work on the internals.
Right. You're going to start detonating heads. I mean, I've seen all kinds of stuff with turbos. And, of course, turbos have tremendous power. Then you're talking about 900 horsepower plus, or especially if you're not lowering your compression or changing the internals for that kind of power.
Right.
So I don't think it's really meant for that kind of power. Like what you're going to get out of a supercharger like this, I never put on the dyno. I don't know. But I would assume 100 horsepower.
Easy. There's two. On that twin?
There's two, but it's still 7 PSI. Like you're still...
So it's a nice, safe 100 horsepower.
All it does is it brings the boost super quick, way in the low RPM range. With two superchargers, you're just getting all the boost quickly, so it doesn't take any time to build up the pressure. And that's what gave it such lightning torque. But if you saw the top end, it's more, but it's not crazy.
Right. This was a 99, though, because of the lack of pop-up headlights.
Yes.
And the 99s have variable
valve timing. Yeah.
Valve timing, right? The VT.
Yeah.
So it is the fastest 5.7 liter V12, the 99s, which had the full the 5.7, not 6.0, but the 5.7 liter, which had 530 horsepower.
That sounds about right. They feel better. The cars are a little heavier because they're usually the all-wheel drive, and it's a roadster, so it is heavier,
right?
Which I think works in its favor for this situation with that extra torque, because the torque is tremendous. It feels like it has another 100, 150 foot-pounds of
Felt like
torque
700
at low
foot-pounds
end.
of torque.
It's
just and those are normally tall gears, and it was just going through them fast. Just boom, boom, boom.
It cuts through those gears like a 993 turbo, like the first gear. It's just like time to switch,
right?
And you're going fast, and things are happening. It's really exhilarating. It's a very exciting and really. It's so nice. The Diablo handles it very well. The all-wheel drive, how heavy the car is, it just takes it and shoots the car, makes the car feel light, makes it feel nimble and angry and savage.
I remember when I drove it, I think the tires were on the older side, so it just kept spitting them out. I mean, it's like, but amazingly,
Still had great traction with old crappy tires, which is
shocking. The VT traction control system, viscous traction control, it's amazing how straight it keeps that car. If you're straight.
Yeah. You don't feel like you know.
Like if you're going around a turn and you hammer it, it'll help save your ass.
For sure. You don't want to be dumb in that car.
No. But if you're going straight, then you hammer it and you're losing traction, it will just keep you straight.
Yeah, I never felt like any two-wheel drive car, like a supercharged or turbo Viper or something where you were just trying to stay alive in a straight line.
Yes.
There's just too much power in two wheels.
Yeah.
It has the weight. It has the correct distribution. Little chassis tweak because of the power, but it's a roadster. There's no way around that. But man.
So we're talking probably 630 horsepower is really what it, because it felt, 650, sure. I'd say all day.
Yeah.
If it was 620, 660, I don't know, but I would just bet money on, okay.
Hard to tell.
Hard to tell, but definitely over 600 horsepower, no question.
For sure, and it definitely increases the torque like crazy, and it's really nice, man. That car is a special car for sure.
Blew my mind. Just when you think you're cool with a manual Murcielago, you're like, what do you got? Oh, supercharged Diablo Roadster. It's like, okay. Wow.
Skaboosh. Yeah, no, it's...
So that one, the internals, for a fact, not changed, just slapped on the kit, because it's interesting. There's that kit on eBay for 20 grand. And it's like, I don't have a Diablo, but what if I buy that for my future Diablo? Obviously, I'm crazy.
It's a well-made kit. I don't know the person exactly who made it. I know it was back in the days of Lambeau, Orange County, Vic. So I don't know who he commissioned to do it, but they did a great job. The belt system was not my favorite, but everything else was great. And why is that?
Because you would complain about...
Yeah, my only
you weren't kind to the belt.
Yeah, my one and only complaint was that you're running two superchargers and the entire system on one belt. So,
which means when you say belt, is the water pump on that belt?
Everything is on that belt.
So it's the accessory belt.
Yeah, it's the accessory. It's a power steering, alternator, everything. So when the belt goes,
you're off the road.
You're just done. Right. You're done, and it's...
What's a skinny belt? I will say, normally that Twin Super, you would expect a fatter, wider belt.
You would expect
it was like kind of a normal accessory belt. You're like, really?
It's the normal belt. It's the same. I don't know if it's a 6-ply or I think it's 6.
Okay.
6 rows. So it's not much. So there is a lot of squeal. There's you can't, if you abuse it, you're going to break the belt. It's a ton of work to change it.
You got to warm it up.
Yeah, you got to warm it up. You have to.
Don't dump the clutch.
I mean, I would say never dump the clutch.
Do that anyways, but
that would be the end of days.
You kind of get into it.
Yeah, you have to not abuse it, and things are going to be okay. The owners that had it when I was taking care of the car took very good care of it, and I don't know if we ever changed the belt while they had the car.
Amazing. They loved the car.
And they loved the car, and they treated it very well, and the car treated them very well. Mwah, chef's kiss on that car. It's just an absolute monster and a beast.
Now, you were going to supercharge your Diablo with One of these or two of these?
One of those.
And explain, what is this? It's a supercharger.
It's a centrifugal supercharger. So that's the difference. That car has a geared supercharger, 2 geared superchargers.
What are the pros and cons of that?
So I would say the pros of a geared supercharger is instant torque, and you get all the power from the bottom end. So when those things start winding up, you have your torque right here, right now. They're not as efficient. They take up more engine power, especially from low RPM, because they are spinning gears.
Okay.
They heat up. I mean, both systems are going to get hot, but those are going to heat up a little bit faster. Again, they got gears. It's a little different. The centrifugal supercharger, to me, feels more like a turbo. So it starts building and developing power as you go up through the RPM range, and it keeps developing power. So it really gives you, especially, and we've supercharged other. I remember I think it was a '91 Diablo we did with one of these, and it was great. The car had tremendous power. So you know how when the Diablo hits $5,000, the engine comes alive.
That was just one?
One.
Wow.
I mean,
you put one on these, and you think it added 50?
I think 100 horsepower.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
For sure.
So maybe this is a better way to go?
I think overall it's a little tamer way to go. I don't know if better is the right word. The way that those feel, the geared superchargers, is more exhilarating and kind of.
It's got a sound, man. That whine.
It's got a crazy whine noise. It's Mad Max from Italy. This style of a supercharger, it's going to accentuate the top end. You get more mid-range. You do get more power across the band, but if my memory serves me, it was like around $3,000, $3,500 that you start feeling it. Feeling it really make an improvement, which is great. And it's fast, man. It feels amazing.
Now, am I wrong? But I thought you have a longtime customer with a Monterey Diablo SV with two of these.
Yes.
Do you think he's pumping 700 horsepower?
Again, the boost is limited.
Okay, so it's light boost, but he has 2 stock internals, you think?
Stock internals.
And you've seen that car. That car I've seen around here at least 10 years.
Yeah, he's had it, I'm sure, more than 10 years.
And it's been reliable.
Totally reliable.
I mean, Diablo engines, like, what does that say about these engines? Like, they're freaking tank. They're tractor engines. They're tanks.
They are great engines. I can't complain. The only time, you have to abuse it to have problems.
Change the oil.
Yeah, keep the oil
drive
up.
Normal.
Right.
Take
care of it.
Spiritedly.
Yeah, of course. Watch your oil temperature. Unfortunately,
yes,
on all the Diablos, you're gonna, except for
we
the Diablo
all
GT.
have that experience of 100 degrees up in the hills, and as you climb elevation,
oil
temp
starts
goes
creeping.
up, and you better pull over.
You pull, or you got to lay off.
Lay off. Yeah. Watch the oil temp. Yes, that is your friend on a Diablo. Is that temp gauge?
So that's a little bit of. If there's one thing I could say about that engine, is you need a better oil cooler. But it's a great engine, and it has a pretty low compression ratio compared to newer engines. I believe it's a 10.5 to 1, which is a lot of turbo engines are 10 to 1 today.
Sure.
So it's ripe for a supercharger. It really it gives it modern power at that point. And the internals are, it's the mains on that are gnarly. It's a well-built engine. It's very well engineered. The connecting rods aren't titanium or anything, but like at a V12, a 5.7 V12 can easily do over 600 horsepower, I think, reliably. And you're going to be okay.
Man, when you and I drove that car, it's like, what does it take?
It's an adrenaline rush right off the bat.
Have this thing no matter what. Water-cooled intercooler?
Yeah, we were working on an intercooler that was
water-cooled?
Yeah, that was going to be water-cooled, and it's...
The other ones are not?
They're not. And so you do feel a little bit of heat soak on a hot day.
which means you start losing power.
Yeah, you
on
start
hot day?
losing power. So if it's 90 degrees out, you're not getting that full 650, whatever it is. You're going to lose 40 horsepower, something. It's not, you feel it. And look, a lot of cars are that way. A lot of the older turbo cars, even with intercoolers, on a hot day, you feel it. On a cold night, that car is just eating the world alive.
And I do remember 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, coming around here as a kid. Wasn't there some race car driver that had a twin turbo that blew his engine?
Yes. We had a Roadster.
Okay.
And you remember this pretty well. So it was a blue Roadster.
Yes.
With twin turbo. That car was
like 1,000 horsepower.
Bananas. It was probably 900 horsepower, we're guessing.
Okay.
It was the fastest car I had ever. I didn't drive it. My dad drove it. Everyone was kind of scared of it. I mean, they strapped turbos on that engine, which was probably giving, I don't know.
Without changing the internals?
There's no
they just slapped it
internals.
on?
They just put them on there. So it probably had, I don't know, 18, 19 pounds of boost. I can't remember.
Did it blow a piston?
It was detonating the heads.
Okay.
And blew the head gasket. Of course, after like 400 miles, I forget.
Am I wrong that you've repaired it and it did it again?
Or no. What we did is we lowered the compression second round. We put simply by putting copper head gaskets, and we just lifted it. So we did some calculations, and of course, a lot less power. So we probably got it down to the 600, 650 range of horsepower.
But it survived.
But now you have a reliable car.
Okay.
And it's got turbo lag, but everything's you can have it.
I think I'd rather have 650 horsepower not blowing engines than 900 blowing your engine. What's the point of that?
There's no point. Without building the engine from the ground up, you're not going to get that kind of power and think you're just going to drive around all day and everything's going to be okay. It was crazy, though. I've got to tell you, it was like, I remember my vision blurring, the windshield tweaking. Wow. It's crazy.
And the 5-speed, the dogleg 5-speed transmission handled that?
I got to tell you, never blew a transmission. I mean, I'm sure the clutch was going to blow at any point. I don't think that.
What about the Roadster with the gear-driven superchargers? How was the clutch? How was the transmission on that? No problem?
Great. Never an issue. Again, they never abused the car. You can't be dumping the clutch.
It's
not a drift car.
Didn't even have a Kevlar clutch?
We might have done a Kevlar clutch at one point.
Kevlar reface?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have to do that for that kind of power. But still, if you're easy on it, you can go a long ways. You can't try to peel out. You can't try to hit those off the line launches, and then you're gonna have for me the differential is gonna be the weak point before you kind of kill the transmission.
So going back to the transmission, like it's totally stock. It totally can handle it. So the engine and that frickin' 5-speed, that really says a lot. Like, would you say? And I know there's a lot of Ferrari lovers out there, and I'm a Ferrari lover as well. But I got to say, coming around here for 30 years, it seems that the Bizzarini and the transmission overall seems to have a longer life and higher reliability than Testarossa engines.
Yes.
355 engines.
Well,
am I wrong?
I think
maybe I'm generalizing, but
yeah, I think it comes with a grain of salt because Ferrari always pushed the technology. They're always pushing that power to horsepower, engine size to horsepower ratio. So a 355 getting 380 horsepower out of a 3.5 liter V8 at 9,000 RPM with 5 valves per cylinder. They were trying some stuff, right? They were throwing it out there. Like the way Lamborghini was doing it or is doing it with the V12, it's kind of the same design from day one, and they just keep making it better. It's like it's a V12, 4 valves per cylinder, overhead cams. Like they just keep pushing that from the Miura, from the Countach, from the Diablo to the Aventador. They sort of kept that going. Ferrari veered off the path many times and pushed the technology envelope, though. So, yeah, I would say they're more delicate. Like a 360, I feel like or 355 is definitely a more delicate engine than a Diablo engine for sure. But I'll give hats off to Ferrari for trying it and pushing that way. Like I wouldn't supercharge that car. I wouldn't supercharge a lot of the Ferrari cars. But their transmissions have been solid. I mean, like a 599 V12 is like, good luck. That thing is awesome. I mean, I haven't seen too many of those blown up. So yeah, knock on wood. So I think, Ferrari.
599 is the Enzo engine, no?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's goddamn good.
Wow.
It's really.
Yeah, we talked about that. I got to get a 599.
Yeah. So, and Ferrari used belts for a long time. Now they're using chains. So belts weren't my favorite. Obviously, that's can be a weak link, and something you always have to keep up on.
But then when a chain goes on a Diablo engine, that's
yeah. I mean, that happens too, and then it's the end of your day.
Yeah, that's an end of that. That's an expensive fix.
Yeah. So they did, and so Lambo did have their issues with the chain tensioners and all that when the early Diablos, but they really put things together as the later Diablos came along. It's a solid engine,
And by the time they get the Mercy.
Yeah, the Mercy,
it's just all the other Audi stuff, relays and electronic throttle body, drive-by-wire stuff that starts to
some of the electronics
not be as reliable.
Aren't my favorite, but it's part of the technology. What are you going to do? It's still a great, fantastic engine. I mean, the Mercy engine is tremendous.
Yeah. Going to have to supercharge that. Damian, thank you so much. We got to do this again. Is there anything else you want to say just about that twin turbo Diablo? Would you like to see it back?
I miss it. I do miss it. It's a car you don't forget. She's, you know what I mean? She's that crazy girl that you still remember. She's like, she was going to kill me for sure. So I'm glad that it ended, but you still think about it.
Careful what you wish for, because I do notice that a lot of the bat cells end up being in LA, and a lot of those LA cars end up here. So
they
2 weeks later, we wouldn't be surprised if it's back in your driveway with a different owner. Anyways, maybe one day eventually it'll land in my lap.
It's possible, man. It's possible.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you, Damian.
Thank you, guys.
It spins the tires.